Welcome viewers to this exciting Sattology channel. And recently in the US, we saw in the state of Ohio and the state of California, there was a petition signed by some groups who called yoga as a Hindu religion and they wanted to ban it. But we, as a practitioners and as American Hindus, practitioners of this philosophy, we think of this more as a science, as a culture, and it's part of our inherent culture which we have got from India. So our religious texts, such as Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata and Ramayana, have several mentions of this word yoga. In America, they call it yoga, but in the Sanskrit word is yoga. So I have a very phenomenal guest. You have loved his talks, and he's an authority. He comes on the highest Varna category of culture, of Vedic culture, Sanatan Dharma or Hinduism. So let us welcome him with all our hearts, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj. Welcome, Maharaj.
Thank you, Aditya. Adiguru.
Hare Krishna. So, coming back to this, discussion again, and we hear that Yogeshwara word comes from Bhagavad Gita, which means the god of yoga, Ishvara of yoga. Then, can we consider this as a religion, or it is a science of yoga, and there is a god of yoga also, which is Yogeshwar. So can you please elaborate on this, please?
It is a question of defining and understanding terms properly. When we use terms like religion or yoga or spirituality, we have certain understandings of the terms. And therefore, we put things into certain compartments. That this is religion, this is yoga, this is science. We have these watertight compartments. But that's not the case. Ultimately, according to the Vedic texts, all knowledge is one, and that is called Veda. Everything possible that needs to be known and is knowable comes under the influence or under the jurisdiction of the word Veda. So when we speak of religion, if we think in terms of religion merely as a set of rituals and practices and beliefs and so on, something to be done just for some materialistic purpose without any understanding of the higher purpose behind it, without realizing the spiritual essence of it, then such religion is not actually spiritual. When we speak of something spiritual, we are speaking of something that is on the platform of the spirit soul, on the platform of the eternal self, in relation to the supreme eternal self. So, this is spiritual. Religion that is practiced without reference to the understanding of our true eternal spiritual identity and our eternal relationship with the eternal supreme identity, such a religion will be only materialistic. It will be ritualistic. That is not to say that in true religion there is no ritual. Yes, but religion, to be true, must be spiritual religion, meaning that the religion must be performed with proper understanding of why certain rituals and practices are to be performed. What is the knowledge? What is the philosophy behind it? What is the essential understanding of this? What is the higher purpose and the goal of all of this? The higher spiritual objective of religion must be kept in the focus. And if that is not kept in the focus, then we will see that religion becomes materialistic and ritualistic. And that is the kind of religion that people are so upset with today.
You are
The other, if you look at the word science, we consider the word science to be only like physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, and such things, which is the study of the physical universe. And we tend to have this science on the basis of our sense perception and the extended sense perception, which is our inference and so on. So we make observations, then we have hypotheses, we make theories, we test it out, and we practically do things, get things to work on the basis of those theories, and we say it's a science. So our understanding of the word science in general is a very limited understanding whose jurisdiction is only within the reach of the senses of our body. But there is a whole realm out there, a spiritual realm, which is far beyond the reach of our senses. So the true science not only encompasses the study of the universe and everything within it, but also that which is beyond the physical material universe. There is a whole spiritual dimension of reality. So when we study science, which is ultimately the study of reality, studying the nature of everything that is, then we must necessarily also include that spiritual reality. Otherwise, our understanding will be incomplete. So, therefore, when you understand spirituality as a process of understanding this higher and complete spiritual reality, then it is an integration of religion, of science. And actually, this is yoga. Because the whole purpose, as I mentioned earlier, was to understand our eternal identity as spirit soul, that we are not this body, and eternally we are spiritual entities called the Atma in the Vedic literature. And the supreme spiritual entity is called by many names in different faiths. And the most intimate name, as per the Vedic literature, is Krishna, which means all attractive. So that supreme spiritual entity, he is Krishna, and we are the infinitesimal, very tiny spiritual sparks. We are part and parcel of that supreme spiritual entity, Krishna. So we are eternal as spiritual sparks. Krishna is eternal, and our relationship is also eternal. So the process of understanding who we are, who that supreme entity is, what our relationship is, and then acting according to that relationship, and then relishing the results that come about, the bliss that comes about as a result of acting according to that process on the platform of that spiritual identity. This is yoga. The yoga is really, it means connection, linking. So we're linking ourselves, understanding our spiritual identity to Krishna. So really yoga, if you understand it in this deep sense, is a complete integration of what people would call religion and science and spirituality and so on.
That is the ultimate answer that I ever received in a very straightforward way, Maharaj. So so another point which comes to the mind is, and also these are the questions raised in the court, that the yoga is just an exercise, and that too it has. So one thing they put it correctly is that they've called it a that it is a coming from Hinduism. So the people who have put this court case in Ohio against all the schools is that yoga is a religion and cannot be practiced because it is Hinduism. And our point is, and also our students also feel the same way, is that yoga is a science and also a practice. So which has practical benefits out of it. Is it important? My question to you will be, can we call yoga, like these people are calling it, as a religion? And you explained the religion very well. So can we dehyphenate yoga from a religion?
It really depends on how we define religion. If we have the broader understanding, the whole problem comes about because people have very narrow definitions and understandings of terms, and they don't understand the true, deeper meaning of these terms. These words are used in a kind of a casual way, without understanding the essential meaning of it. So the question could be answered both ways, depending on how you define it. If you look at religion merely as some ritualistic, materialistic approach to life, something that you follow because you identify with it from your birth, or because of some materialistic identity, or because you want something from this world like wealth or enjoyment or something, you petition God for giving you what you want. If that is the conception of religion, that materialistic, ritualistic conception of religion, then no, yoga is not that.
Absolutely. I,
People may use yoga like that because it's a whole process. But if we understand yoga in its deeper sense that I just explained earlier, then we will see it is not, it is science, it is spirituality, it is something that is the perfection of religion. It has to be seen as an integrated whole. And also, when we use the word yoga, what is popularly understood as yoga is the asanas, the exercises, and the pranayama, the breathing exercises. So both of these are only two parts of the eightfold process that is called Ashtanga Yoga. So there are many types of yoga. There is Bhakti Yoga, there is Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. So what is popular in terms of all the exercises and breathing techniques, that is a small part of one of the types of yoga, which is called Ashtanga Yoga. Ashta means eight, Anga means limb or part. So Ashtanga Yoga is the complete process of which they follow only two, asana and pranayama. And they mostly do it for health. Now, why you need good health is a deeper question. If you need good health only so you can enjoy this body more, you can uh, perhaps relish the enjoyments of this world, then that is not the true purpose of yoga. Good health is essential in life. At the same time, good health for what? What is the purpose of life? So when this yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, is practiced with a deeper understanding, then you incorporate all the other steps. It starts with yama and niyama, that the do's and don'ts. There are certain codes of conduct to follow, and then you get involved in various degrees of meditation, culminating in complete absorption, which is called samadhi. But Ashtanga Yoga, in and of itself, is also not the ultimate understanding of yoga. All of this ultimately has to culminate in devotion to Lord Krishna. Devotion or love is the ultimate relationship between the Atma, the soul, and the supreme spiritual entity, Krishna. So, unless that Ashtanga Yoga process brings us to the point where we render devotion to Lord Krishna, then that will at best be like a stepping stone or one of the rungs in a ladder. So our conception of yoga as we understand it from Bhagavad Gita, the speaker being Lord Krishna, who, as you said in the beginning, is the father of yoga, the master of yoga, the origin of yoga, then we will see it as a part of an integrated whole, and Bhakti Yoga as the pinnacle. So you see all of these yogas as one. like rungs of a ladder. And that ladder is ultimately meant to get us from here, where we are now, to the spiritual realm, which is to Krishna. So this is the way in which one can understand this whole concept of yoga and this confusion about religion and spirituality, or science. Is yoga religion or not? So that is how one can understand it.
No, you put it so simply and such a convincing argument on what you have explained just now. But here, if you look at the situation here and what Sattology is always debunking mythology in the universities, one of the problems is the, and I don't see as a problem because just a mindset, because nothing in the world is a problem and nothing in the world is a solution. It's just a right attitude defines what's a problem or what's a solution. Now, the misconceptions, it usually comes from the dogmas. There are various dogmatic. If you look at the history of the world, especially North America, 1492, Christopher Columbus came to Cat Islands in Bahamas, and between 1492 and 1880, they brought in a lot of diseases, and it led to the complete extermination of Incas, Aztecs, Mayans, which was spread across North America and South America. And they established the dogmatic faiths, and inculturalize or culturalize the local faiths and traditions into something bigger. Now, when the people have more access to internet and more information is available freely, people are questioning. The Americans are questioning, the Native Americans are questioning, everyone is questioning. And so there is a big spiritual churning going on in the society where people are trying to find their identity. And so the old dogmatic way of thinking that anything Eastern is mythology and anything Western is a truth, which is breaking apart. And that is what the biggest, I would say, the ideological churning is going on. Now, in this context, this concept of yoga, as you have defined, transcends that topic. So the one question which people have usually in this environment is, what is the best path to follow? And what is the right path to follow? And that's where, if you can little bit speak on that, that'll be very nice for people, to help people.
The best path to follow is, of course, Bhakti Yoga, because that is the process of linking ourselves to the supreme spiritual entity Krishna with bhakti, or love, or devotion. And as I mentioned earlier, all the other types of yoga, be it karma yoga or jnana yoga or ashtanga yoga, they are all ultimately steps, the rungs in the ladder that bring us closer to Krishna. And Bhakti Yoga is the topmost state of the rung of that ladder. So, if anyway one has to come to that after going through all these different types of yoga, might as well just directly take to the process of Bhakti Yoga.
That's right.
The founder of the Hare Krishna movement, Srila Prabhupada, used to say that the other processes of yoga are slow and gradual. Let's say you're going up to the top story of a building, of a multi-story building. Let's say that Karma Yoga is first floor, Jnana Yoga another floor, Ashtanga Yoga another floor, Bhakti Yoga another floor. So if you were to take all of these, walked up the stairs, it would take a long time and a lot of energy. But if you took the elevator, then you reach the fourth floor, very quickly and easily, without much expenditure of energy and time. So similarly, one can directly take to the process of Bhakti Yoga. It will save time, inconvenience, energy, confusion. It's very sublime, very efficacious, meaning it gives results very quickly and effect and satisfactorily. So this would be the best process. The process of Bhakti Yoga is to develop our love, our dormant love for Lord Krishna. And that is the perfection of yoga as Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita.
So one of the words which has been used very, very disrespectfully towards yoga is the word pagan. And pagan and also satanic, these are the words have been used in various public forums and written by the big leaders coming so-called claiming to be very religious leaders, and they have claimed that in a public deposition. So which is very offending to the people who are on this path, very offending in a way. In one way we should not take an offense based on what you say. At the same time we have to show that yes, we don't like this to be used with us or anyone else. So what is your answer to such kind of questions which may not be relevant, or the words imposed on a very popular, so 45 million Americans follow yoga, which is more than uh, so it's roughly around 12% of the population. And so what do we say to that accusation, which is very offensive to the entire yoga community?
Well, if it's just a few people, saying it, then it's not really something we should be so worried about because it's it's a reflection of the way they see the world. If we are following a certain path, and anybody else who's not following it is a pagan or a heretic or an infidel or whatever they may have various terms for it. I don't think we need to worry too much about them. I think rather than responding and at that level, rather we should just continue to carry on. And for the entire yoga community, which is growing, we can definitely introduce them from from that standpoint to a certain deeper culture, a deeper spiritual culture. Initially, most people who come to yoga, they come there for benefits of health and peace of mind and so on and so forth. So that's fine. But as they get more deeply involved with yoga, not so slowly, they should be brought up to and be introduced to the more sublime and the more spiritual aspects of yoga, and go rise beyond that, and then come to the process of chanting the names of the Lord. So this is a good background, or rather, it's a good entry point in the sense that they're already become very favorable. They've understood that there's a whole spiritual culture out there. This is such a nice way of life. It's physically and mentally very healthy and spiritually very conducive also. So the yoga classes that are going on now, even though they primarily deal with the body, they are very appropriate points for shall we say, enabling these practitioners to come to a higher level of spiritual consciousness. Because at least by doing that, they not only follow a discipline, which is essential, but they also become appreciative of the larger culture, from where all these exercising and breathing techniques and all that has come from.
So Ohio University students, in Columbus and Cleveland, you have asked me certain questions, and I've had I'm sorry, I'm saying doctor, but His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj answered it so detail. In the subsequent questions, we might have a live session with him in future, and also we might have him answering other things related to the aspects of yoga, such as history, because that's what in Sattology we are focused on, the history, the real history, from where it comes from. So from all of us, Maharaj, we are very grateful. It's very late in the night. Normally you don't do so late meetings, but you have kindly stayed back. But we are going to continue this topic. And today we have answered the resolutions passed in Ohio State, and our students will take it forward. This video will be live tonight or early tomorrow. We'll make it a priority, and then we will have more questions. And through you, as a religious authority and a spiritual authority, we have answered many questions in a very conclusive way, and we'll continue to do that. Continue to debunk all types of mythology tags against our culture and Sanatan Dharma, and which most of the Americans have adopted ever since Srila Prabhupada came here in 65. So thank you so much, Maharaj, and very grateful to you. Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you very much, Aditya. Wishes for your channel and your programs.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.